My name is Sarah. I'm 29 years old. And the final words my sister Emma spoke to me before she severed our relationship were, "You'll always be Dad's greatest failure." She delivered this verdict while standing in our childhood kitchen, her flawlessly manicured fingers clutching a champagne glass, toasting her engagement to Marcus. The same Marcus I'd been with for 3 years. The same Marcus who'd proposed to me with our grandmother's ring before my father persuaded him I wasn't wife material. Emma had choreographed the entire scheme, masquerading as the caring sister who simply wanted Marcus to find happiness. What she truly desired was to claim the one precious thing that belonged to me. That was 18 months ago. Today, I'm positioned in the reception area of Hartwell and Associates, the legal firm managing Dad's estate, observing Emma's expression disintegrate as the attorney recites the will publicly. To my daughter Emma, I bequeath my regret that she never discovered the importance of earning her rewards. His voice reverberates through the marble-walled conference room. To my daughter Sarah, whom I failed to value during my lifetime, I leave everything remaining. But let me retreat because this narrative doesn't begin with vindication. It begins with a lifetime of occupying second place. During our upbringing, Emma was the favored child. 3 years my senior, effortlessly stunning, inherently magnetic. Success flowed to her naturally. Dad would radiate joy when she entered a room, his expression illuminating in ways it never did for me. When Emma achieved honor roll, he escorted her to dinner at the country club. When I graduated as valedictorian, he muttered, "That's pleasant, dear," without lifting his gaze from his newspaper. Emma attended Northwestern on Dad's fortune, pursuing communications, which she promptly discarded after graduation to become a lifestyle influencer. Meanwhile, I managed 3 jobs to finance my nursing education, earning my BSN, and eventually my master's to become a nurse practitioner. Dad never attended my graduation. He was in Cabo with Emma, commemorating her reaching 50,000 Instagram followers. The pattern established itself early and never shifted. Emma was the royalty. I was the laborer. When I encountered Marcus at a hospital fundraiser 5 years ago, I believed I'd finally discovered someone who recognized my true worth. He was a pediatric surgeon, brilliant and compassionate, with steady hands and an infectious laugh. For 3 years, we constructed something genuine together. He'd sit with me after my exhausting 12-hour shifts, listening as I discussed my patients, the families I'd guided through their darkest moments. He told me I was remarkable, that my empathy was a treasure. Then Dad began interfering. It started with subtle remarks. "Marcus appears to be a decent man," he'd comment. "Unfortunately, he's squandering his time with someone who'll never be able to provide him the lifestyle he deserves." When Marcus would join us for family meals, Dad would bombard him with inquiries about his practice, his ambitions, his future vision, all while barely recognizing my existence. Emma, naturally, suddenly materialized everywhere Marcus and I went. She'd appear at our dates claiming coincidence. She'd message him directly about family occasions I mysteriously wasn't invited to. She'd share photos of herself at charity galas, always ensuring to tag Marcus when he appeared in the background. The devastating finale occurred during Dad's 65th birthday celebration. I'd been working double shifts for months to accumulate funds for a surprise trip to Scotland. Dad had always discussed tracing our family heritage there. I was so proud of the gift, so eager to finally accomplish something that would make him beam the way he did for Emma. Instead, Emma announced her engagement to Marcus. She'd somehow obtained my grandmother's ring, the one Dad had always promised would go to whoever married first. Marcus appeared uncomfortable, apologetic, but he didn't intervene. Dad glowed brighter than I'd ever witnessed, embracing Emma and whispering loudly enough for everyone to hear. Finally, someone worthy of the Henderson legacy. I departed the party early. Marcus pursued me outside, attempting to explain, but I could barely hear him over the thundering in my ears. "She helped me understand that we desired different things," he said. "Emma comprehends the kind of life I need to construct. You're so concentrated on your work, on your patients. I need someone who can be a genuine partner in my career." It was Dad's words emerging from Marcus's mouth, and we both recognized it. The following morning, Emma called. Her voice was honey-sweet, the way it always was when she wanted to inflict pain. "I hope there are no bitter feelings, Sarah. You know, Daddy only wants what's optimal for everyone. Marcus will be so much more content with someone who can support his aspirations appropriately. You'll always be Dad's greatest failure, but at least now you won't be Marcus's too." I disconnected and wept for 3 days. Then I collected myself and returned to work because that's what I'd always done. 18 months elapsed. Emma and Marcus had a luxurious wedding that graced the society pages. I wasn't invited. Dad financed everything, naturally, and escorted Emma down the aisle with tears of pride in his eyes. They purchased a house in the finest neighborhood, hosted dinner parties for Marcus's colleagues, performed as the perfect power couple. Meanwhile, I immersed myself in my work with a concentration that bordered on fixation. I established a mobile clinic for underserved communities, working 18-hour days, sleeping in my vehicle between appointments. The local news featured my work. Then regional newspapers covered it. Then CNN. I won the state's Outstanding Healthcare Provider Award. Then the National Nightingale Award for Nursing Excellence. A medical journal published my research on community health interventions. Harvard invited me to lecture at their medical school. Dad never acknowledged any of it, but others noticed, including the board of directors at St. Mary's Hospital, who offered me the position of chief nursing officer, and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, who granted me $500,000 to expand my mobile clinic program statewide, and Dr. James Chun, the head of emergency medicine at Johns Hopkins, who became first my mentor, then my colleague, then something deeper. James was nothing like Marcus. He didn't need me to elevate his career or enhance his reputation. He loved me for precisely who I was, the woman who'd stay awake all night with a frightened teenager in the ER, who'd battle insurance companies for her patients, who'd drive 2 hours to a rural clinic because she knew they needed her. When Dad suffered his heart attack 6 months ago, I was the one who rushed to the hospital, not Emma, who was in Tuscany posting Instagram photos of her authentic Italian experience. I was the one who held his hand during surgery, who coordinated with his physicians, who made the impossible decisions when his condition deteriorated. Emma flew back for the funeral, naturally. She looked magnificent in her black Chanel dress, performing the grieving daughter perfectly for the cameras. She delivered a beautiful eulogy about what a wonderful father he'd been, how much he'd taught her about love and strength. I spoke, too, briefly about his dedication to his work and his community. I didn't mention that he'd never once told me he was proud of me, or that he'd spent my entire life making me feel inadequate. After the service, Emma cornered me by the floral arrangements. "I suppose you think you're going to inherit something substantial," she said, her voice low and sharp. "But Daddy and I discussed this extensively. He knows I'm the one who'll carry on the family legacy properly. You'll receive some token amount, maybe enough to pay off your student loans." She was mistaken. Dad had rewritten his will 3 months before he died, apparently after reading the Harvard Medical Review article about my work. His attorney, Mr. Hartwell, had attempted to contact Emma to inform her of the changes, but she'd been unreachable, busy with her influencer lifestyle. The inheritance wasn't just money, though there was plenty of that. It was the family home, the vacation house in Martha's Vineyard, the investment portfolio, the art collection. Everything except a single item. Emma inherited Dad's 1975 Chrysler Cordoba, the rusty old car he'd refused to discard despite Mom's years of complaints. But the real gift was the letter he'd written to be read after the will. "Emma," Mr. Hartwell continued reading, "I hope the car serves as a reminder that value isn't determined by appearance or popularity, but by reliability and endurance. Sarah has spent her life proving this truth while you've spent yours avoiding it. I was wrong to favor you, and I was blind to Sarah's extraordinary character. I cannot undo the damage I've done, but I can ensure that my estate goes to the daughter who has already proven she will use it to help others rather than herself." Emma's face had gone white during the reading, but now red was creeping up her neck. "This is impossible," she said, her voice trembling. "Daddy would never. He wouldn't humiliate me like this." "There's more," Mr. Hartwell said gently and continued reading. "Sarah, you have spent your life earning things that were never given to you. You have built a career and a reputation based on merit, compassion, and dedication. You have proven that the Henderson name means something because of what you've done with it, not because of what you were born into. I am proud of you, and I should have said so every day of your life." I felt tears sliding down my cheeks, but I kept my voice steady. "Thank you, Mr. Hartwell." Emma stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the marble floor. "This isn't over," she hissed. "I'll contest this. Daddy wasn't in his right mind at the end. Anyone could see that." "Mrs. Whitman," Mr. Hartwell said, Emma had kept her maiden name professionally, but taken Marcus's legally, another small irony. "Your father underwent a complete psychiatric evaluation before changing his will. He was found to be entirely competent. He also anticipated you might contest the will, which is why he included this provision. Any attempt to challenge the will results in the forfeiture of all bequests, including the car. Emma's mouth opened and closed like a fish. For the first time in our lives, she was speechless. I gathered my purse and stood to leave. Emma, I said quietly, for what it's worth, I'm sorry it took Dad's death for him to see us clearly. I'm sorry he never gave you the chance to prove you were more than just his pretty princess. And I'm sorry you never tried to be. She was still sitting there, staring at the mahogany table, when I walked out. 6 months later, I'm living in Dad's house, our childhood home, but it feels completely different now. I've transformed his study into a command center for my mobile clinic network, which now operates in 12 states. The dining room where Emma announced her engagement is now a conference room where I meet with other healthcare providers about expanding our services. James moved in last month. We're getting married in the spring, a small ceremony in the garden where Mom used to cultivate her roses. No society photographers, no elaborate displays, just the people who matter, celebrating something real. Emma and Marcus divorced 4 months ago. Apparently, when the money and status were stripped away, there wasn't much left between them. She moved back to Chicago, where she's working as a sales associate at Nordstrom while trying to rebuild her social media following. Marcus tried to reach out to me after the divorce, but James answered the phone and politely told him I wasn't interested in revisiting the past. I used part of Dad's inheritance to establish the Henderson Foundation for Community Health, and Emma was invited to the launch gala. Not as family, but as a member of the public. She didn't come, but she did send a card. Inside, in her careful script, she'd written, "You were always the better daughter." I just never wanted to admit it. It wasn't an apology, not really, but it was acknowledgement, and sometimes that's enough. Last week, I received a letter from a young woman in rural Montana whose life was saved by one of our mobile clinics. She wrote that she wanted to become a nurse practitioner because of the example I'd set, that she'd never known healthcare could be about love instead of just medicine. I read the letter sitting in Dad's old chair in the study where he used to ignore my achievements while celebrating Emma's. For the first time since he died, I could hear his voice in my head, not the critical, disappointed tone I'd grown up with, but the voice from his letter. "I am proud of you." Finally, after 29 years, I believed it might be true. The best revenge, it turns out, isn't about making your enemies suffer. It's about building a life so meaningful that their opinion of you becomes irrelevant. It's about proving that you were worthy all along, even when no one else could see it.